Turn on that radio and back here. The cops ain't likely to catch up with us, not tonight. So we can all be quiet and peaceable and listen to the music.
This episode of Auto Dealer Live is brought to you by TrueCar. All right, guys, we're live.
Hey, we're live. It is Thursday. It's time for Auto Dealer Live. Hey, Thursday, Tommy.
What up, Doe?
What's up, guys?
Hey, who's that?
It's Lou.
Oh, okay.
Big
What's up,
stud.
buddy? What's up, buddy?
Mr. Lou.
What's up, Dave Cribbs? You know, you've been here almost all day, and I don't think you've even said 2 words to me. And I'm trying not to be offended, to be honest with you.
Well, you know, you were in there having your debate about the world being flat or round, so
Right?
I decided
Some
to say
interesting. Hey,
Run out the door. Boom, 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 boom.
there's some interesting stuff online about it. I encourage you to look. Don't be a sheeple. Don't be a sheeple like Lou. Look, make your own decisions.
It
That's what I
reminded,
say.
it reminded me of the popular Netflix thing right now. It's called Unacknowledged. It talks about the UFOs and how the
I didn't say nothing about UFOs, man.
You might as well have when you said the
Oh,
Earth is
UFOs,
flat.
because that's a more appropriate subject. But you talk about the Earth being flat. Everybody wants to, they believe the Earth was flat for like thousands of years before, the last.
Before they found out that it was round.
Yeah, 500 years ago they knew because they took that spaceship, the 500-year-ago space. Anywho, you know how this goes. We could do this all day, but this is why he didn't want to talk to me because he didn't want to lose an argument.
But hey, today's show is Time is Money. We've got a great panel coming up. We're going to be talking to, I'll introduce them in just a few minutes, but also we have a special guest dealer in studio that will be coming on live here in a few minutes as well. And David Villa,
Where's he at?
noticeably
Where's the other
absent.
side of the room? Where's he at?
He was actually just sitting here in the chair moments before we went live, but he has a call from a dealer. He's trying to shut down and close up a deal, so he'll be back on set here in just a few minutes, probably by the time we come off the break. If not, we will move forward.
We can do it now. We've done it before.
Tommy, how about this, man?
Yeah. Guys, for the top 5 influencers.
I'll say it again.
For the top 5 flat earthers today, influencers. For the top 5 influencers today, whether Facebook or whether Twitter, you're going to get a signed and autographed copy of Dave's book, Lead or Be Launched, The Power of Earning Influence. 5 of them we got to give away. So get your little knuckles and fingers ready because we're going to be needing your assistance on this one.
Yeah, hot off the presses, really. And as many of you know, Dave's already a best-selling author, but this is his latest book, Lead or Be Launched. He's actually signed them in green, I might add. I thought that was kind of cool. So they're signed in green, ready to be given out to the top influencers here on Facebook. Make sure you're liking, sharing the show, and obviously engaging.
Could be on Twitter, too.
We're going to be monitoring, and Twitter,
Yes.
Twitter. And we're going to be monitoring, by the way, your comments. And it's your opportunity, really, to ask questions to dealers and other industry experts that we're going to have on the panel today here in just a few minutes. So
Let me see that book again, Tommy. Show that book again from the side view.
Boom.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice book right there.
In the back. You needed the picture, though. Dave doesn't have a picture of himself.
Yeah,
he
don't
with
wanna
a
do
pipe and like an ascot in by a fire,
Ascot.
like a fireside chat. Should have had that for this picture for the book. That's what I would have done.
yeah, so we're going to be back in just a few minutes with our Time is Money panel. We're going to have Jesse Peterson, Frank Lopes, Danny Benitez, Curtis DeGroot, Jason Gerdner, and a special in-studio dealer that'll be live in just a few minutes. We're going to go to commercial break. Tommy,
do it.
anything else before we go?
813-574-1820. Holler at your boys
There
if you
you
want
go.
to get involved, and hashtag AutoDealLive as well. And we'll see you back in a couple minutes.
Hi, I'm Chip Perry. The Pledge was and is an action plan designed to address head-on the concerns that many of you told me about right after I took this job. Thus far, our Dealer Pledge has been aimed at fixing the major pain points that you told us about related to our product, our customer service, and our consumer advertising. I'd like to reiterate that our Dealer Pledge is our ongoing commitment to you, our dealer customers, and we will continue to work hard to improve our service to you.
Dave Cribbs here, Serial Sales Pro Trainer, talking about our upcoming Internet BDC Boot Camp. Look, it's no secret that every dealer is focused in this area. Arguably, our best leads are coming in either through internet, through outbound phone calls, or most importantly, that inbound call that's arguably now the best up that we have. When we have ups on our showroom floor, we're all over them when it comes to process and what we're doing, and we see what's happening. But oftentimes in the internet, it's overlooked, and here's where we are missing opportunities, and this is really the new playground, if you will, for process and interaction with customers. So join us for our BDC boot camp, where we're not only going to talk about selling the appointment rather than the car, but more importantly, selling the appointment that sticks, that shows. Join myself, John Marazzi, managing partner of Brandon Honda Sun Toyota, a history of taking dealerships to a whole new crazy level, and others at our Serial Sales Pro Boot Camp, Internet BDC, coming up soon. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Chip Perry. The pledge was...
Dave. The magic of television, ladies and gentlemen.
We made Dave.
Who do we have here? We made Dave into
We made Dave Villa look just like Brett Oob. And
he's a adventure. Go ahead, say hi to the people.
Hey, how's it going today?
That's right. We have Mr. Brett Oob here, and Brett, you owned what, 3, 4, 5 dealers?
We have 5 locations.
Five
we have
locations.
3 franchise locations and 2 independent superstores.
And they're all in Louisiana, right?
And Mississippi.
Louisiana and Mississippi. So major franchises as well. So Brett, thank you so much for being here today and being able to kind of participate and chime in, not only as a dealer but as a co-host today. So
My pleasure.
yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
So we're gonna get the party started. The panel, by the way, is brought to you by Automoto HR. So if you're a dealer and you have some staffing needs, that's what they specialize in. Make sure you reach out to Automoto HR. And up next is the Time is Money panel. And Tommy?
The time is money. President at Ide Chrysler, we have Jesse Peterson. We have Mr. Frank Lopes, the VP at Forrest and Blake Marketing and Advertising. Danny Benitez, he's the Chief Collaborator and Principal at Dealer Health. Curtis DeGroot, Chief Innovator Officer at Stream, and Jason Gerdner, CEO at Tacobi. Gents, welcome to Auto Dealer Live. How the heck are y'alls?
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here. Man, that is an improvement over Villa. I'm so glad Brett is here.
Isn't it better? I mean, for the moment. Actually, what's going to happen here, unfortunately, you will be getting Villa back here shortly. I will be stepping down because my shoulders are too broad to have 4 of us up here, to be quite honest with you. But Danny, it's good to talk to you, man. How's biz? How's everything going? I want to be a chief collaborator one day when I grow up too.
Well, just keep practicing.
Okay.
You'll get there. No, things are going well. Glad to be here. Excited. What a panel. I'm a little intimidated actually, but I'm glad to be here. And I've got pants on and everything.
Well, it would have been great if you had him on in studio last time, but congratulations. Cribbs, lead us off there, buddy.
Yeah, so let's go to Jesse. And Jesse, as the president of Ide Chrysler, obviously we're talking today about time is money. We're talking about really what's working when it comes to marketing dollars. How do we determine what we're going to spend our money on as dealers? What's working? What's maybe dropped off? What's maybe peaking? What's changing? So maybe tell our audience as a dealer, how do you determine? I mean, there's so many things in so many ways, and you have to be very diligent about how you're going to invest on your customer acquisition side. So tell us about how you determine how you spend your marketing money or where it goes.
Yeah, first it's Ide, and it's one of those words that you can never pronounce correctly just by seeing it. So, but I just thought otherwise there'll be about 5 different ways we pronounce it. But
yeah, I appreciate that. I do. Thank you.
Yeah. For me, advertising and marketing, we have 2 stores in one market here. We have a pretty large Ford store and then this Chrysler store that I spend most of my time at, and we try to align them as much as possible with all the same vendors. I mean, that probably goes without saying. I mean, most dealer group types probably do that. But the first thing I do, and I think this is where I think this is a mistake a lot of dealers make, and it's just kind of an out of sight, out of mind type of thing, where they don't get involved themselves in sort of looking. What's the word I'm trying to say? Looking at the product that they're going to use, or understanding how to use it, if it's a product, or being involved in that. They have someone else that they kind of push that off to, and that other person handles it, and they just go on and focus on other things. And I think as a dealer, you really have to have an in-depth understanding of your marketing investments yourself.
So how do you get involved at your dealership? Are you the one that's actually taking the calls and actually looking at the programs directly, or how does that work for your stores?
Yeah, I mean, I know that this maybe isn't marketing dollars per se, but I was at Digital Dealer last week, and we're looking at possibly changing our CRM. And so when we did this 8 years ago, the last time we did it, at this point, I probably am still the most knowledgeable person in our organization on our CRM. And the reason I did that is so that nobody could tell me that something works or doesn't work. From my standpoint, I know if it works or not because I'm the person that up until just the last year, I trained a lot of new employees in it. And I took the same approach with this. If we're going to change, I want to know every single positive and negative about this new product myself. I don't want to leave that to someone else. I want to be involved in all the meetings. We just had someone come from out of town and demo this potential CRM that we're looking at, and he came from out of town, and I was in the meeting, and of course I met with him for probably 3 hours at Digital Dealer, so I knew a lot already. But I think being involved in those type of conversations is what you have to do as a dealer with the vendor.
Yeah, and
cool.
What about you, Brett? I mean, as an owner, how much of that do you do personally versus maybe giving some autonomy to the general managers of the locations? I mean, what does that look like for your dealers?
Well, I align with Jesse in the respect that, if you want to lead people to do anything, you have to be involved in it, and you have to be the subject matter expert. That doesn't mean that you usurp your leadership team and not have them involved in it, but you've got to be just as capable of doing those things. If not, you're not going to get the leadership buy-in, and if you don't have the leadership buy-in, it's just going to be the next program that nobody wants to fool with, and it's not going to be successful.
Okay, so you as an owner feel like you really do need to lead that and kind of have
absolutely.
A great understanding of it, even for your employees.
Yeah, if we're gonna, we have a CRM that we use across the board. We're not looking, but to use his example of a CRM, if we were going to change CRM, we may as a leadership team come together, make a decision to do that. We may have a couple people go out and do the legwork and start figuring out which ones we should look at, and then we would narrow it down. I'd dive into the 3 or 4 that we're looking at, and with those people, and then help guide that decision.
Awesome. Yeah, let's go to Frank Lopes. Frank, you've heard a couple of the dealers weigh in already, and I'll kind of pose the question to you. What are you seeing out there right now that you feel should be an area of focus for dealers that are tuning in when it comes to marketing spend?
Well, I know that the one thing that they should be focusing on more than anything else before they start to think about where they want to spend their money is basically what their priorities and what their goals are and what their expectations are out of the marketing dollars that they're going to be investing. Because the dealers that I've been talking to and the ones that I've been working with very closely, especially this year, this has been our main focus. It's not about, the goal is not to get more leads and sell more cars. Obviously that's like the unwritten goal, but it's the goal of, how do we penetrate into this one particular market, or how do we begin to conquest in this one particular area? And then after that, what's it going to cost us to be able to do that? And what type of expectations do we have coming out of it? That's what's hot. Really looking at targeting your marketing initiative and targeting your message and targeting your dollars, and actually seeing it, along with priorities, and actually seeing it come back to you. There's nothing that's hotter or sexier than that.
Yeah, and Frank, do you think that's because that we have the ability to do that, like now with technology and the different ways to track and the data and customers, that we just have a new ability to make it more targeted? Would you say that's the case?
Yes and no. I think it is that we do have more at any time, basically in the history of auto sales, we have a lot more accountability and a lot more tracking than we ever had in the past. But with that being said, at the same time, the smart dealers realize that using those abilities and using that data and using, the data that comes back is more important now than it's ever been. And I think it's because a lot of dealers are getting very, very smart. They're getting very, very savvy. They're opening their eyes. And I don't want to be a doomsday guy over here or anything like that, but they all realize that, some leaner times may be coming around the corner. So the smart guys are the ones who are looking at it saying, okay, I got to make sure I'm getting everything that I can out of this right now because, tomorrow may be a different day, and I'm not going to have the luxury of being able to sit back and just, take it as it comes and say, well, all right, we're selling cars, so it's all good, because that's not cutting it anymore. Thank God that's not cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
I think it exposes that, right? So you're talking about even if you're not you at least need to be aware of that, whether leaner times are coming or not. I think that's debatable. People are saying whatever, but I think you at least need to be prepared for it. And let's bring Danny back into the conversation. Danny, give us some thoughts on what you've heard so far, brother. What do you think when it's all said and done? The focus on the spend, on the return. A little bit about what Frank was just talking about. Interject if you would, please.
Sure. And when I die, if I live a good life and I get to heaven, God's going to tell me how I should have advertised all these years. And I'm going to go, I was going to do that. So I think people that say they have it figured out are full of it because it just changes all the time. But, back to what Frank said, that, maybe leaner times are coming. We have to be good managers of our money and our marketing spend. So many people have become what I like to call victims of volume. Because they're doing business, they assume that everything they're doing is right, and that couldn't be further from the truth. But, when we're talking about marketing spends and getting ROI, I just want to go to the data. In a lot of the same way that we used to manage used car inventory. We did it by gut. We feel like this works, this isn't going to work. Well, now we have data that shows us what we need to stock based on actual market data, things that are going on the streets. And really our marketing should be the same way. There's a huge debate right now about attribution and where those sources should be given the proper credit. So I think we need to have tools in there so we can see what is working, how much we're spending in a certain area. And maybe our goal is website visits. Maybe we want to track how those sources are working on our website. I prefer to translate it into sales, into dollars. I want to know how many cars are being sold and whether it's first or last touch or some sort of formula in between. Everybody's got their opinion. I want to know where those sales are coming from. And we need to be tracking traditional. We need to be doing traditional in a way that can be tracked. For the ultimate goal of sending them to our website and converting them. So I think we have to stick to data. And early in on this conversation, we're talking about, you need to know if you're general manager or dealer or whatever, and I've been all of those things, and you better know what's going on. And you have to hire good people, but you need to have a pulse, your thumb on the pulse of what's going on in your marketing by knowing how to get through Google Analytics or to understand that we can't just use a marketing source because we're afraid not to. Or we went to a 20 group and Jim and Bob and Fred and the 20 group decided that they're using this one source and it's awesome, so I go back to my store and start using it. Our markets are different, and we've got to use data. It's just got to be common sense, and I'm through working with my gut on marketing.
Yeah, and thank you, Danny. Those are great comments. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break. Curtis, Jason, you're going to be up next. We're going to talk to you as well. David Villa is going to be back on set. We continue with our live in-studio guest dealer, Brett Oob. We'll be right back after this commercial. You're watching Auto Dealer Live.
Hey guys, Dave Dilley here, CEO of IPD in Tampa, Florida. Listen, I want the dealers that are listening to stop for just a second. This is going to take a couple of minutes. I want to appeal to you about Mailology. It's hotter than ever. If you're looking for something to move the needle in October, we're almost finished with September. Listen, Mailology is it. It's the art and science of direct mail. Direct mail is not only dead, it is alive and well. Listen, this has been a funky season in the auto business. I've talked to friends and colleagues of mine, and listen, I empathize with you, dealers. It's been a little weird out there. If you're looking to move the needle, let me show you what we're doing with Mailology. Look, we are working with over 400 dealerships and they are blowing the roof. We're seeing responses that are unprecedented. Honestly, responses that I haven't seen in the last decade. All right, let's just look. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to scroll here to show you the amount of dealerships that are using this program. These are movers and shakers in the industry. Let's just scroll here and show you a little bit. Look at this. Starting alphabetically, man. We're in the C's right now. I can keep going. H's, J's, L's, all the way down. Hyundai, Ford, Nissan, Toyota. These are just some of the dealers that we're working with. We're averaging 25 to 50 vehicles a month, depending on the dealerships, the markets, the aggressiveness. Look, we have stores that are moving 100 cars a month that we're helping get to 125. We have stores that are moving 200 that we're helping get to 250. We have stores that are moving 500-600 cars a month that we're moving upwards of 60 plus units a month. Let me go over here to the board and kind of show you what's going on. These are just a few actual dealerships. We're working with the #1 Hyundai store in the United States of America. They move a lot of vehicles. In the last 4 months since we started Mailology, we have helped them move an additional 200 plus deliveries. Hyundai of Asheville, this is a store, you go, hey, you know what, that store's moving hundreds of cars, right? Hey man, I'm only moving 120 cars a month. Let me tell you about Hyundai of Asheville. Tom Hill, a friend of mine, a client for 3 years. Last month, Tom called me in the last 9 days of the month. This is last month, the last 9 days of August. He said we moved 64 cars in IPD. This is 3 years after working with us monthly. IPD was a big part of that. I want you to tell your guys. He's killing it in September and he's already put it on for October. Let's move down here. Koch, Toyota, and Ford in Easton, PA. 5+ years Tom and Dick Koch have been working with us and they average, I'm talking 5+ years later, every month, month in and month out, we do an ROI every month. They average 50+ deals every month. Miracle Toyota, they have a store in Albany with their Kia and they have a store in Haines City. Their Haines City store last month, 377 ups, 268 credit app appointments into their dealership. That's what I'm talking about. Hanks Buick GMC. If you're a Buick and GMC store and you're looking to move the needle, I understand you're not a Toyota dealer or a Hyundai dealer. Maybe you don't think you have the hot product. Hanks has already put us back on again. 214 responses, 173 appointments. Randy Wise Hyundai in Michigan. Listen, this is almost too many people. 566 people, 462 appointments in the last 7 weeks at Randy Wise Hyundai. Woody Folsom Nissan in Georgia, same thing. 532 responses, 398 appointments. Thurston Toyota and Chevy and Honda in Ukiah, California. We've been working with Rich Crawford for over 5 years there. 3 years before that at Stevenson Hyundai in Jacksonville, North Carolina. 200, this is the last sale. This is the most recent sale. 5 years in a row. 288 responses, 163 appointments. I asked Rich how many cars he sold. He said over 45 deliveries that he can attest directly to our Mailology program. 163 appointments, he sold 45. That's not bad. That's 25 to 30% closing ratio on the appointments that we send in. Don Jackson Mitsubishi and Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. In the last 6 weeks, 461 responses, 344 credit apps. So here's my question, all right? I've done nothing but give you response rates. I've got hundreds of dealerships, dozens and dozens of references, all makes, all models. Hyundai, Toyota, Nissan, Mazda, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Ford, Chevrolet, Honda, you name it, we do it. Kia, we're working with some of the top Kia stores in the country. If you're a Hyundai store, not only Hyundai of Newport Richie, not only a Hyundai of Asheville, about 35 additional, including South Point Hyundai, the number 12 Hyundai store in the nation. They've worked with us since November of 2015, every single month. Jim Haith has signed up through the end of this year, and he's already talking about plans for 2018. He put on his Chrysler Dodge Jeep store that he was awarded as a new point 6 months ago, and we've already put that on through the end of the year on paper. What are you waiting for? I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I'm passionate about what I sell. I can help you move the needle in the month of October. Give us a call, 813-630-5888. I'm not going to put it on screen all fancy like. I'm going to write it right here. 813-630-5888. You hit extension 1. It's going to ring right here. What's that say?
Joe, I think
right here. Extension 1, baby. You call extension 1, and we're going to pick up the phone in this room right here. These guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Not traditional and direct, but we hope that's a good thing today.
Hey guys, Dave Dilla here, CEO of IPD. Hey guys, we're back. Man, thank you for letting me come on today. I had a call from a dealer right as I sat down at 3:30 and the intro was rolling, and it was a 5-store group. And you know how that goes, man, business first. And but I want to jump, man, Jason Girdner, I'm going to jump into you, man. You know, Jason is funny because we're buddies on Facebook, and thanks for coming on, man, CEO of Tacoby. And Jason, you know, you hit me when we invited you on. You hit me kind of in a laugh, a little bit of a laugh. You said, "Hey, man, you're going to hit me with this whole mail comment that of what you said on Facebook." And you know, I know Kevin Campbell and some guys jumped in on it, but I am going to hit you a little bit on it. And I know you didn't back off. You clarified yourself a little bit on the as we message each other back and forth. But I do want to ask you to clarify, because one of the things you said in there, if I understood it correctly, all right, and I know Cribbs and I, we talked about this, but if I understood it correctly, you mentioned something about anyone who sells mail today, is really it's unethical. And I'm obviously you weren't talking about that there's a bunch of crooks out there, but you were talking about they're doing it for profit, and I can only assume that you're not a fan and you don't think it works. And so I wanted to get you to clarify that a little bit, if you would, and thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, so, I mean, it wasn't necessarily directed at mail. It's more directed at the agencies, and seems like every agency that approaches us, the first thing that they talk about is what they're going to make when they sell the product to their clients. And I've just had multiple situations where agencies, where we've shown proof that Facebook can sell cars, but they still direct their customers towards mail because there's a higher profit margin in direct mail. So I'm not opposed to direct mail. I mean, I've got a very extensive background in direct mail. I built VLS Direct and Virtual Lending Source, and we were doing 2 million pre-approvals a month at one point, retail. Mm-hmm. I was the first person to think of combining the loan by phone hotline with direct mail so that people could have PIN codes. Mm-hmm. So I've got a very extensive background in not just direct mail, but actually tracking the responses and communicating with the customers to the point of them walking into the store.
Yeah, and so, okay, so then if I'm hearing you correctly, you're talking more about from an agency, and we, here at our company, obviously I have an experience of dealing with agencies and the whole markup and aspect of that. I would, we're also a digital company, and I want to get some feedback. I know we still have Jesse, Frank, Danny, Curtis on. Of course, we have Brett Oob here in set. Brett was here doing some training today and tomorrow, and so we did not know well in advance that he would be able to join us on the show, but he owns 5 stores. And I think this is my experience on it. Danny, and I'll get Brett to comment as well. Danny, I'm not really sure, though, and I appreciate you clarifying that, Jason, but I'm not really sure, Danny, that, from my experience, that digital marketing doesn't have just as much markup in some capacity because we have in-house individuals, and a lot of what my experience is with our digital marketing that we do with the hundreds of, clients that we work with is having an in-house team to do it, Danny. Once we have an in-house team to do it, there's your overhead, but the rest of it is some of your experience, and there's some costs depending on if you're on Facebook, obviously some paid advertising, but a lot of it is experience and expertise, and that's what you're paying for. Where maybe mail you're paying for, there's some hard cost involved in it. What do you think, Danny? I'll ask you and Brett. Brett's on set here, but what do you guys think as dealers that? And then I'll even ask Jesse to weigh in. But Danny, why don't you start off as a former dealer?
Sure. Yeah, our goal when we sell cars is to make a profit, And when we finance it, our goal in there is to make a profit. And an advertising agency's goal is to make a profit. And same with digital agencies, so on and so forth. So there's going to be markup. They have income stream coming from somewhere. And if you're working with them, it's coming from you in one way or another. You have to determine what's an acceptable amount for the service they're providing. So the problem, though, is that we get into this, oh, I can do that myself kind of mentality. And then we try it, and then we do it poorly for a little while. Then we quit doing it. Then we go shop again for another agency. So the thing is find somebody that does whatever you're looking for well. And if they do it well, pay them accordingly. And, yeah, these agencies, they'll mark it up 20% or 30 or whatever, as do digital companies, as does, direct mail companies. This is a profit business, but we have to discern profit from value, and we have to understand if we're getting our value. And back to my original point, the way we do it is we track it and we pay attention to it. And if I'm spending $10,000 with a company in advertising that has XYZ amount of markup, if my ROI is proper, I don't care how much they're making. In the same way that I buy a car from a wholesaler or an auction, I don't know how much they made. I just know what I need to pay for it in order to turn the profit I need to take. So I know that's kind of a generic answer, but I'm just telling you, we in this business, we complicate the shit out of it. I mean, do we or what? So we've got to break these things down and figure out what the true cost is to us, and everyone we deal with is going to have a profit built in. It's just how we feel about it, whether it hurts our feelings when we do it.
Do you have an opinion, Brett?
No, go ahead.
Or is that Jesse? Or
it's Jason. I would agree with that. Of course, a business needs to make a profit. My post spurred from one instance where look, there's cost in mail, and there's different ways to produce mail or any form of advertising. Dealers typically want as much service as they can get. When it's more when the agency makes decisions purely off of the profit margin, and when you have factual data to show that, and the dealer's just blindly, listening to the agency without digging into the actual numbers. That was really what spurred my post. And I do understand a business needs to make money. Of course, everyone needs to make money, and if you do a good job, you should make more money. But I've been doing mail a long time, so I'm pretty familiar with what campaigns produce what and what's included with the campaign. And there's mail pieces. If you have a call center and you're managing the phone calls for the dealer on the mailer, there's obviously more cost. But if you're just doing a saturation mailer to 40,000 people and your overhead is ordering a list and sending it to the printer, there's no reason an agency should be making a 40, 50% markup on that direct mail.
Yeah, and one of the things too, and again, right, I'm kind of with Danny a little bit on this as well, and I know this. It's hard to narrow this down in even the time frame we have on this show, much less what we have left. But to make it all about this, but I mean, one of the things that I guess it always comes down to with me, rather than counting like my money or your money or whatever, because like I think we all agree that profit should is able to be made, and it's really, I have dealers say a lot, I don't care what it costs as long as it works. It's more about like, I want to win, man. I mean, are you high grossing me? Are you, is there a negotiation there? So I think one of the things though, that listening to what you said, though, I don't really know. And I know that there's analytics on digital. Again, I do a lot of digital and I like it and I agree with it. There's analytics on digital, but I mean, is there really a big ROI on it? And also
so let me address that. Mm-hmm. I guarantee there's an ROI. I've been trying to sell cars on Facebook for 7 years now. I've built 2 software companies, and I almost gave up. I actually built the company to 500 dealers and walked away because I couldn't prove an ROI. I was charging dealers $500 to $1,000 a month. I couldn't prove that there was an ROI, and I walked away from the company. Mm-hmm. What we're doing now on Facebook, every single person that clicks on an ad, we're capturing name, email, and cell phone and sending them a text message and communicating with them via text. Okay. So not only can I prove the ROI, I can show the conversation from beginning to end of the customer clicking the ad, getting the text message, and communicating back and forth with every single customer. Well, so yes, there has been a problem.
Okay,
with
so
ROI on social media.
But the thing is that the thing is on that. For instance, getting a click on a Facebook ad, which we do as well, and IP targeting and all the latest and greatest, is not selling a car. So here's the one thing I can provide.
No.
So hold on.
On a Facebook ad with a lead gen ad,
right?
It's not just a click. So I'm not sending a VDP view.
Right. Your text messaging.
I already have their information before they get to the dealer's website.
Right. I understand what you're talking about, but I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to tell you that this is what comes down to sell a car. Because here's the deal. You get a customer that responds to a mailer and picks up the phone with their voice, their vocal cords that God gave them. And I'm like, hey, Dave, I'm actually on the phone, not my Facebook account, not my text message, but I'm actually speaking to you. And you got a credit app that you fill out and you send them in on an appointment and they don't show up. Or the dealer has a salesperson that sucks and a BDC that's lazy that doesn't pick up the phone and call them. I mean, think about that for a second. You could literally call Uber, have them go by their house to pick them up and they won't come outside. You still aren't selling a car. So my point on ROI is how many cars did I sell, Jason? And I want you to prove to me so my point is that I get everything that what you're saying, but the reality is I work with the dealers every single solitary day, hundreds of dealers, and I know that a dealer wants a hard ROI. I mean, am I wrong on that, Brett? I mean,
yeah. So we actually get, just like direct mail, with the IVR system and people calling, we get the customer's information. So if a dealer spends, say, $5,000, they're going to get 100 to 200 leads, actual leads that can be matched to sales data and provide the entire conversation.
Right.
So it's just like mail, and it may be a text message initially starting the engagement, but the engagement over text is 70% versus calling 10 leads and getting 2 people on the phone. So I always refer to what the lead gen ads on Facebook as it's the same as direct mail, except for mail and phone call. It's Facebook and text message.
Okay.
That's
how much
the
do you charge?
People are starting to ship.
How much do you charge a dealer? How much does the dealer pay for something like that?
We charge them $5,000. $3,000 goes towards ad spend, and then I have a BDC that handles text messages and works closely with the dealership to set the appointments. So the $2,000 covers that BDC cost, the creative cost of monitoring the ads to make sure that the leads are coming in at the right cost.
So it's
and the software development.
Yeah. So and that's a great, and I wholeheartedly believe in that business model. Matter of fact, we have a program similar to that here, and I agree with that business model. And I mean, one of my clients is sitting next to me, but I'm not giving anything away. But we're friends. But I mean, there's in a different way as much profit in that when it's all said and done. Lower overhead, which equals as much profit as that is there is in direct. Sure.
I agree, but in my process, I have people who are working with the dealership to help get customers in the cars. That's where, I mean, I'm traveling around to 2-3 dealers a week.
You're just not doing You're just cutting out the postage and the printing and the fulfillment, which are hard cost, and and so forth and so on. So I think there's a place for that. I guess my beef is, and you backed off of that. My beef is that for somebody to say, hey man, it's unintegral for someone to do direct mail means that it doesn't work, and that's all. I guess that's really it's like saying pizza's bad.
It's more about an agency directing a dealership towards let's say a crappy mail campaign, just because they can't make as much on a Facebook campaign.
All right, I feel better.
Thank you, Jason, and thanks for clarifying that. Let's go back to Jesse real quick because I know we have to get off the line, and then Curtis, we're going to hear from you here in just a moment. Go ahead,
Jesse. Still on?
I'm here. I don't got to go, but if you want to kick me off, that's
okay. Someone had mentioned it, and I thought it was you, Jesse. But you've heard the conversation so far. Why don't you weigh in on any thoughts that you've had?
Yeah, I mean, direct mail per se, I don't find any problem with that. I use it quite a bit, and I just started to in the last probably year and a half, maybe 2 years, maybe just more of like a year and a half. And I find I've had success and failure with it. So I don't even like to. I don't think we even have to have a conversation about how much profit is too much or enough or whatever, because it's a competitive market, and if you want as a dealer to get the very best deal, then you know what, put 2 direct mail companies against each other, and then you'll find out what kind of deal you can get there, and if they can do it, they can do it. If they can't, they can't. But I've had some great. I think with direct mail, there's a lot of different things that you need to, as a dealer, you need to really know how to use it to your advantage.
Hey, what do you think, Brett, about that? I mean,
well,
what Jesse just said.
Man, I mean, I think Jesse's got a point. I mean, for me, I mean, when I first got in the business, I hated direct mail. I mean, and the people that taught me the car business, that's what they loved. And I couldn't stand it. I thought it was hokey. I thought it was a weird way to do business. Of course, at that time, it was more, you know, flashing bingo cards and scratch-offs and that rather than a credit offer. But what I've learned about direct mail is you get as much ancillary benefit from direct mail as you do hard sales from direct mail. And what I mean by that is that, well, every time we do a direct mail campaign, our phone rings out of the ordinary. And on top of that, we get more floor traffic than we normally did. And a lot of times we can't get those customers done. But what we can do is we sell our hearts and minds of our sales management and our sales team, and they go, man, we're busy today. And the customers that they were already working on, they work harder because they have 5 opportunities instead of 1 opportunity. And instead of walking around telling everybody, man, it's terrible today, man, we're not closing anybody, we're not going anywhere today, I don't know what we're going to do, we only have this one sale. They go, boss, we got 5 people today, or we got 50 people today, or whatever the number is.
Yeah.
And we end up closing more of the customers that we would already touched.
Yeah, that always takes it up a notch. I mean, the activity breeds activity, and when you're working with real buyers, it doesn't matter who's in the showroom. If it's full, it's going to help you.
Now, I can tell you, we track our stuff fairly well. I mean, anybody who says they do a fantastic job is just lying to you. But I mean, we do a better than average job, and we do get an ROI from the program. We wouldn't be doing it. I don't mean to discount
of course.
that. But we also get an ROI from Facebook. I mean, I was listening to the gentleman make his comments. We get an auto. We use Facebook, but to say that I'm going to cancel one to do the other, I mean, each one of them has their own distinct, unique audience, and you have to determine in your marketplace what audience works best for you and how many of those that you can actually see. So what I've done is I've gotten rid of all traditional media and gone straight to digital and direct mail.
I'm going to go to Curtis. Curtis, I know you. I love the title, Chief Innovation Officer. You've been listening. Thank you for your patience. And you know, I know that you do a lot of things. And I think that one of the things, without, you know, I didn't mean to get into a debate necessarily. I really wanted to. I believe in it all, and I think we all do. And we're all trying to make this better. I know Jason's a great guy, and I wasn't. You know, I think he and I'm still cool, Jason. I love you, man. But you know.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still too cool too, brother.
All right, brother.
It's all good.
We're good, Curtis. You know, but let me ask you this, man. I mean, isn't it really what it comes down to? There's a lot of dealers out there, and it comes down to really what's gonna. I mean, Brett just hit it on the head, and I know Jesse said this, but isn't it really just about, I mean, getting those opportunities? I mean, advertising is so busy no matter what you do. I mean, you're a guy who's Chief Innovation Officer, man, and you guys do a lot of things. Talk a little bit about, you know, the importance of just really getting an ROI on what you're doing and how to, because talk about that and maybe how to get a dealer to view it that way, you know, if, you know, to make sure that what they are doing is effective. Curtis?
Well, listen, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's been an interesting conversation. I know most of you actually fairly well because of being 24 years in the car business. But nothing excites me more than the opportunity to talk about phone book and yellow page ads and billboards and all the traditional media that everybody is doing nowadays. It's the next greatest thing, right? Obviously, you're all thinking to yourself, this guy is crazy. And I am, because when I got into the market, he's talking about bingo mailers. I remember him because at that time, I was selling bingo mailers back then. And there's probably not a bigger person in the industry besides maybe Mr. Villa that believes in direct mail than I do. And the reason why is simple. I am a database expert. And what I'm building, the platform that we do in advertising, it's a marketing company. But it's a marketing company that sends specific, tailored offers personalized to the customer. We also do Facebook ads. How can you argue with the fact that there's 2 billion people on Facebook?
Right.
You can't. That's what, you know, what people talk about, well, I got cars.com and gurus, and those guys all do a great job. They really do. But let's face the facts, guys. Where are the people? Why is Google not as good as Facebook? Because people use Google as a tool. It's a shovel to dig a hole. Facebook is where everybody is. And the exciting part for all of us on this call, and the dealers, you know, the vendors, all of us together, is, and thank God we don't have any phone book salespeople on the call here, or newspaper salespeople. We have got a chance to integrate. And when I'm talking about integration, I'm talking about integrating the direct mail with the personal websites that we do for our consumers. I was just with John Marazzi, who's a very successful dealer here in Florida. And I don't think anybody that knows him can argue with him. I sat in their dealer meeting with all the managers and watched what I saw was the deepest F&I penetration in any two-store group that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The most profitable I've ever seen. And I've been in the car business for 24 years, and I've been in a lot of those managers' meetings. And, David, I know you have too. And so when you see a guy like that, and, you know, my buddy Vic Samoan on the West Coast, Scott Robinson Honda, when you see operators like that are just killing it because of process and because of the fact that they're looking at one thing, and this is where I bring it kind of back full circle. I know all of you guys don't know what I do, but you'll find out eventually. And so, but I am a database expert, and what that means is I'm going to tell you as a dealer, you spend all your time talking about ads on, you know, the ads on Google, even ads on Facebook. Facebook's better because at least you can identify who the person is. And you can identify, you know, like Jason talked about, from the lead ID, you can get the information, the contact information, which anybody who's doing Facebook ads knows you can get that. That's great. Now you can put a pencil to a real deal. But when you're talking about the database, when you're talking about guys that every dealer I have ever met is a database expert. And they alluded to it earlier about how dealers have to become, I mean, you open up a closet at a dealer's house, and there's literally 2,500 hats in there because they have to be literal experts on all subject matter. And when you look at a database in the dealership, and even the best dealerships out there, when you look at the holistic database view, you see that they have less than 25% email addresses. And many of those are after an email append. Now, good service centers help that. But the reality is there's a good portion of the database that you don't have any contact information if you turn off that direct mail. Now, can you get them on Facebook? Yes, but Facebook is not a push strategy; it's a pull strategy. So if they never click on your ad, you never get an opportunity to engage them. So when you're talking about major companies, major mail companies, I can name a few. David, you're one of them, obviously. Scott Joseph, J&L's another one. And, you know, there's various companies across the country that still do mail. The reason why mail works today, in my opinion, and you'll see soon, you'll see some of the pieces I'm doing for John and for Scott Robinson that have over 120 variables on a single piece. That is going to a customer that didn't buy from the dealership, but they're servicing there. And that's a whole nother show right there, talking about how equity mining, which I do, how they don't, all these equity mining tools don't even hit these customers that are buying service from your dealership but bought from another dealership. Anyways, point is those mailers, those reaching those targets, every dealer I've ever met in the last 24 years has a greater understanding of database marketing than anybody else in the dealership. And on the backside of that, I will say, you dealers, love you to death, sold cars, that's where I got into business years ago. Thank you. But you guys focus 80% of your dollars and time on trying to get that new chick rather than take care of the housewife. You're always trying to get the new people, and you talk about Google and lower funnel and how do I get them here, and let's put ads out there with payment, and you forget about the people. Like in John Marazzi's case, his Sun Toyota store, 46,000 or 47,000 customers and 41,000 households. And I'm going to sell, and we will sell at that dealership in time, in the next 90 days, we will be at over 200 units a month from the program we're doing there to the database. That's how you manage the database. Sorry, that was long-winded.
No, I agree with everything you said, and it's, you know, it's interesting, and I mean, the shows, we don't have much time left, but it's interesting when you think of Facebook. I mean, we're all on it. And the reality is, obviously, you should be marketing to that. But Curtis just had a good point, Dave. I mean, you've got a situation where, like, it's like everybody's in the same room. because it's a party. Everybody's having fun and eating, and here comes the Amway sales guy, right? And he's going to get up, right? You don't want that guy at the party. So in other words, Facebook's a big party. We're all like liking each other, like, oh, everybody likes it. But then the guy that comes in is like, hey man, look at my program, look at my program, look at my program. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's a subtle way to do it. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of segues right into something that I wanted to hopefully touch on before the close or before we close up. But we have, as there's no secret, obviously a lot of our viewers are vendors. They're tuning in to today's show, Time is Money, listening to dealers talk about how they choose to spend their market money. And I think we owe it to them to maybe get some dealer perspective when it comes to, how you prefer being approached by a vendor. What do you think gets your attention? I know.
Me?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you, Brett, and I'm going to ask Jesse and Danny also as dealers. I know Danny has kind of crossed over in helping dealers, but he was a GM as well and an owner. So talk to us about that.
Well, I mean, I've heard a couple of these people on the panel say that they were in the car business and they became a vendor. I was a vendor and then got in the car business. So I've spent my life calling on outside sales and walking into places that they didn't ask me to show up and trying to create a 30-second speech to get the next 5 minutes. And what I would say to anybody is, number one, don't send me an email. Don't go on LinkedIn and send me a little quick note. I get 30 of those a day. Don't Facebook me on the inbox or any of that. You better get back to real selling techniques, create a value proposition, and then get into front of decision makers that can make a decision. I'm sure the gentleman, his name is Jesse. I'm sure Jesse can attest to this, and I know John. The gentleman spoke with John, and anybody else that's in the dealership arena. You get 150 to 200 people a day trying to get your attention, and I probably don't talk to one of those a month. And because I was almost appalled when I got on that side of the desk of the poor professionalism, the poor sales ability, and the thing of just trying to peddle a program rather than figuring out what's going to create a value proposition for me and then teach me how to do that. If that makes sense.
Wow. Well
Amen.
said. Well said.
Amen.
That's probably all that needs to be said, actually. I think you covered
Jesse,
it all.
you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's totally right. I couldn't agree more. What I would say is, advertising works on me. And what I also do is I read a lot of content, blogs, and stuff like that these guys are putting out on LinkedIn and Facebook. And to his point, don't address me directly in my inbox or email or whatever. Let me read your stuff, read your content. Let me become familiar with you in my own way, because I will. Frank Lopes, for instance, I've read his stuff for a long time now. And, I just did it at my own pace. So when he called me, I was very familiar with him by that point. And I think that can be said for a lot of companies out there. That's really the best way. Put out good content and have good value proposition.
It's Frank and Danny. Danny will get a kick out of this because Danny came to our office a little over a month ago and did a sales meeting. So Danny, you saw the hammers that we have in there, right? But Frank and Danny, I got an email yesterday from a guy. I'm sitting in the sales room. I'm actually, Brett came in. He walked by today and he said, "I didn't know you sat in here." And I said, "I usually don't, but I'm in here. He's closing the month out, and I'm taking TOs and stuff." But I was at the desk in the sales room.
He was hammering them.
I was hammering them. Hey, I closed a 300. Listen to direct mail's not dead. I closed a $300,000 deal yesterday. One deal, $300,000 So that's awesome. Pretty big deal. But anyway, hey, by the grace of God, man, that wasn't bragging. That was just being grateful. But I will say this, Frank. And you
didn't take advantage of him.
No, absolutely not. He thanked me, and I sent him a text message that said thank you because we worked together for a while. He goes, "No, thank you."
Well, David, here's the thing is that one of the things I think that vendors don't understand is that the adversity that you get from the dealers, from vendors, is because dealers have been taken advantage of. With this program is going to sell me 25 cars, and listen to all of the rhetoric, and they were just out to sell a program. It's like, how do I get rid of you today? Well, sir, if you sign my contract, you'll never see me again. I promise you.
Hey, Danny, check this out, Danny. I got an email though. I got to say this because this is hilarious. It's not the car business. This guy's he's a trainer. He emails me, okay, and I guess I get emails from him all the time, I guess. And he emails me yesterday. It just got my attention. I looked at it, and it's something along the lines of, "Mr. Villa, I guess, I'm not interested. Here's what he said. If you're interested in having your salespeople overcome fear of cold calling, please let me know. I emailed him back and copied all my sales team and my development and training development manager and said, his name was Wes. I said, Wes, maybe you should get over your fear of cold calling. I said, if you get me on the phone, I'll listen to you. I mean, the freaking guy emailing me, telling me he wants to teach my sales guys how to overcome the fear of cold calling.
Well,
come on.
Zig Ziglar's brother wrote a book called Timid Salespeople Have Skinny Kids.
So,
there you go.
Can I interject as a vendor real quick?
Yeah.
I haven't made a single cold call in the past year, and I've sold $3 million worth of business. It's real simple. Build a great product. Get your customers to talk about it, and you will never have to pick up the phone and call another dealer. They will call you if you put in the work to make sure that you service them properly. And I've made millions of phone calls to dealers, millions. I started in the business doing 200 dials a day selling loan by phone hotlines. I haven't made a cold call in a year.
Jason, I can tell you right now, just because I agree with you, that there's a lot of vendors listening to you say that right now, and they're saying, that guy's full of it. And I can guarantee, I know you're right, and I know you're telling the truth, and I agree with you, but I guarantee there's a lot of vendors out there that are selling old school credit mailers that no dealers
I did three demos yesterday, and not one. All of them reached out to me. Not a single dealer did I reach out to.
Well, I think what he's saying though is that it's just like the salesperson that comes to work for me today. Are they going to make cold calls today? Yes. And I tell them this: if a year from now you're still making cold calls, then you ought to be indicted. You ought to be indicted. I mean, a sales manager that comes to me that's been in the business 10 years and says, I can't sell 20 cars myself through my prospects, why are you in the business? And so if you've been in the vendor business for years and years and years, and you can't sell a program without having to make cold calls, man, you're in trouble. You don't have any industry friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we use cold. I don't believe in cold calls. I believe in they say cold calls are dead. They're usually right, but they don't. But they're not saying. Their calls aren't dead. The phone's not dead. They don't know how to use the phone, though. I will tell you that. So, I mean, I know, and again, we can't argue.
I haven't picked up my phone in a week. I haven't picked up my phone in a week.
Who is this?
Text,
who is this?
Email.
Who is this, Jason or Curtis?
This is Jason.
Jason, yeah. And look, and I can't argue with you because it's successful for you. So I can't argue with you. I could just say that this is my experience and my opinion of it. I agree. We get emails and business, and our phones are ringing in or in text message. And I mean, I don't do anything but text my dealers back and forth. And I probably text 25 dealers today back and forth, and we're working deals out. But at the same time, I believe that my guys are selling by cold calling. My sales team that makes outbound calls sold $15 million last year by outbound. Here's my thing: if everybody were doing that, would we sell $15 million from cold calling? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
or would we just do the inbound?
You have to sell from cold calling. The difference is
some opportunity there because people have backed off of it. So
well, the difference is the gentleman that said that he doesn't cold call. The gentleman that said he doesn't cold call, if he hired a new salesperson, that person would have to cold call because they wouldn't have the years of business that he's got.
No, I actually have more leads coming in than salespeople right about now. I mean, I just hired my first. All the sales we got the past year have been pretty much me, and then I just hired the first salesperson, and he hasn't had to make a single cold call either. So I spend my time flying from dealer to dealer to try and make sure they're successful.
Jason, let me help you here. What the dealer is saying to you, and he's right, because most people aren't getting that, okay? And that's the reason why I was saying what I was saying. This is Curtis, by the way. What the dealer is saying to you is that the next employee you hire will not have that business network that they can leverage. And so that person will have to do dials. But if that person in a year is still doing cold dials and not getting anywhere, then it's time to you got to fish or cut bait.
See, the thing I ran into with that, Curtis, is I was running into inexperienced people getting on the phone cold calling dealers and actually doing more damage than good.
The
dealers are getting called so much.
I love that.
Getting called so much.
Jason, send them to my training. I'm being honest. I'm serious. I'm serious.
I'll send them to your training if you want to put them through some training, but I don't have time to
now,
get them in line. And I mean, if they call a guy like Jesse and start saying something stupid, Jesse will never do business with our company, and I don't want to take that risk.
Absolutely, I can't agree with you more. You got to be careful who you let. But the thing is that because you just hit it on the head. There are salespeople out there that absolutely, positively suck on the phone because they don't know how to do it. I mean, they literally are horrible. And but the thing is if you can get some, we just stopped training it. And so all that is, I mean, Grant Cardone's a perfect example of that. I mean, Brett, you're friends with him. I'm friends with him. Grant, you grew up with him. I mean, you guys grew up in Lake Charles. I mean, you know, so you guys know each other. But I mean, he's older than you, but I mean, you know him.
Grant's much older than me.
He's much older. But the deal is, I mean, look, the deal is he would love this conversation because he would just say, hey, you know, that's just more for me. And I think the deal is there's personalities are still being born every single day. They just don't have the skill set and the training. I equated it in one of my trainings recently with a group of people, and we train mostly non-dealers. Our training has mostly non-automotive people in it, and we had a room of people. We were doing our last sales boot camp, and I equated it to Jedis. I mean, like you watch Star Wars, you know, whatever, right? We all watched it as a kid, and freaking Jedis were dead. Yoda, you know, was the only one left, right? Little shriveled up dude. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think that it's a skill set that if you teach it, you will own a segment that is just empty.
Especially moving forward now, because it just becomes more and more rare every day. So
Grant's got one of the most successful sales organizations in the country today. They're smiling and dialing out of there every day.
Right, exactly.
But the difference is what you said. They're training those people. So if you hire somebody and you throw them on the phone with no training, yeah, they're going to mess it up. You got to put them through a series of training.
And if you don't have time to train, seriously, reach out to us. We that's something we obviously offer.
And that's not a cold call.
So we're going to wrap it up. It's been an
interesting show, right?
It's been an amazing.
I don't even know what the topic is today. You guys,
I don't know, man.
We're just arguing.
It's been well, we may do that. It's been an amazing show, and I feel bad for all of our Facebook Live viewers who are making comments. We normally chime those in. There was certainly no shortage today.
Let's read them when we're done. When we let the guest off, we'll take a couple minutes to read them.
We'll do that. So real quick, Jesse, Frank, Danny, Curtis, Jason, thanks so much for being on. If you can, just real quick in that order, Jesse, Frank, Danny, Curtis, and Jason, one final quick closing comments, 15 seconds.
And tell dealers how they can get a hold of you as well.
Yes, and share with our viewers how they can reach out to you. Go ahead, Jesse.
This is all vendors, so don't reach out to me. No. I think you can find me on Facebook. Thanks for having me on. It was a very interesting conversation, and I enjoy having these. I enjoy any conversations about marketing, so it was very eye-opening for me as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Frank.
Jesse. Frank Lopes.
Yeah, I am here, and I will, vendors, dealers, or salespeople, I don't care who the hell you are, you want to reach out to me for help, please do it. Just Google Get More Frank.
Hey, we have a lot of dealers, guys, that watch. They just don't. They're not the ones. The vendors are the ones who comment. The vendors are the ones who. But dealers are like, I'm not putting myself out there on social media.
Thank you, Frank, for being on. Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, I think the answer to this is pretty simple. Cut your budget back a little bit and pay me. I'll come in and we'll sort all of this out.
Right? Perfect.
Love it.
And I think it's ironic that we've run out of time on a show called Time is Money. That's awesome. If you want to get a hold of me, I'm easy to find. Danny_Benitez on Twitter, or my website, DannyBenitez.com. And it's been great. Thank you for having me. And everybody, I think, just needs to really pay attention to what's working in the store and understand how to track it, how to monitor it, and then make good decisions from there.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Danny. Curtis?
Yeah, so I'm 43, so that means I use Facebook, also Twitter. But probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is on Facebook. I could spit out my email address, but I am the only Curtis DeGroat, and Curtis is spelled correctly with a C, and DeGroat is DeGroote on Facebook. And I always seem to start the conversations there, and it leads to the next conversation with the dealer. So love to work with all of you guys on exclusive database marketing and equity upgrades for your sales and service customers, and in the future, Service Reminder as well. So look forward to connecting with anybody except another vendor. Just kidding.
Curtis, I'd love to get you on a future show too, so we can do some things maybe specific to what you were talking about earlier with database, and kind of get into that a little more. But thanks for being on, man.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jason. Close us out.
I'd like to thank everyone for having me on. It's not all vendors in the comments. I have some of my dealers. I'd like to thank them for joining us and commenting. Dream big, believe in yourself, and go after it, guys.
Awesome.
Thank
hey,
you.
Jason, thanks for your comments earlier too, man. And thanks for coming on and dude, it's been great spirited conversation, brother. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Mr. Bredu, man, thanks for joining us. I'll let you get closing remarks in a minute. Lou, scroll up there. Let's read some comments. We've had a ton come in. I know that you haven't put them all up there, but let's read some.
And don't forget, these comments were in competition for your book, Dave.
And then Jason asked if he qualifies. Jason, you do qualify, man. I'm going to send you a book.
Yeah, come on.
Diane Yulzak, great to see you as a co-host. She's talking about you, Brett. Ben Adler, hi, guys. What's up, Ben? Mark Stringfellow, what's up, Mark Stringfellow? Man, tell Clint I said, hey, what's up, everyone? Everyone having a great day. Ivan Velasquez, dealer. He's actually in Mexico, believe it or not. Unless he moved up, there will be some home run hits today. Big players on the show, I guess.
Sunglasses. Brad Paschal, it's okay.
He's
Tommy Elwell words are hard. Tommy Elwell's words are hard. Jake Davis. Yeah, I hear the echo too. Yeah, we had some sound issue.
All right, thanks, Lou, for those comments.
Thank you, Lou, for scrolling those up. Kevin Burns, Frank Lopes is talking about picking a target and focusing on it, but what are some good goals to start out with as a dealer?
Frank Lopes is talking about us picking a goal. What are some good goals? What do you think, Brett? I mean, what are some good goals to start out with as a dealer? Do you got to
sell cars?
Sell cars.
Sell cars. I
Service
love that.
cars.
Service cars. Perfect. Awesome.
Jared McCreevy got some pretty good people on that panel. Yes, we do, sir. Jared also said appointments, scroll up, Lou, don't matter if people don't show. That's for show.
That's for show.
Jason, you do qualify for the book. Jason McCreevy. Yes. Transparency, consistency, passion for what service you provide, and marketing that stretches across the different mediums and reflects the same message from one to the next. That's a dealer speaking there.
Okay, Brad Paschal, Jason Gerdner uses the product he sells. That's why he doesn't have to make cold calls. Okay, interesting.
There's a believer. There's a believer in it.
And
by the way, you know what? And I totally agree with that. You could have plenty of business with that. I guess it's
no, absolutely.
I guess unless you can't handle any more business. I think that it comes down to is that Dave, can you, if you personally are doing the work and you personally have to service dealers and you can't handle any more, so you have no time
to me it sounded like maybe it's time for a plan for expansion for Jason, which is a wonderful thing. Sounds like you're blessed, and now we need to just get someone else prepared to do more for you. Heather Allred, confidence on the phone is something everyone deserves.
That's pretty sweet. That's pretty good
comment about that, Brett?
What do you think, Brett?
I agree.
You agree?
I agree.
Brett agrees, Heather.
And I would argue that the only way that, I mean, Brett, I'll just ask you as a dealer, don't you feel an obligation to your employees, especially salespeople, and maybe even more especially newer salespeople? Don't you feel an obligation to prepare them, and maybe an obligation to your customer to have them prepared to work?
Well, I mean, going back to at the very beginning of this, Jesse was talking about getting better as a dealer, and you have to get better as a dealer because the marketplace has changed, and I don't think it has anything to do with the doomsday of the market getting skinny. I think it's more so is just as the market becomes more intellectual, more intelligible, you have to do a better job at doing business. Margins are thinning, regulations are increasing. The volume may be there, but you're having to work with more with less, so you have to get better. And so in that respect, you can't afford to burn through any opportunities. And putting somebody green who can't answer the telephone, one, you're setting them up for failure, because the minute that if they don't have some small successes, then they're gonna lose all their confidence. And number two, the store can't afford to lose those opportunities because they're real live opportunities to sell cars and service cars.
Right, absolutely.
It's good.
Yeah. Man, great show.
Lou, any other comments? Are we good? Okay, you got them up there. Okay, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Been a great show. Close strong. And anybody that'd like to talk about, find out more about what we do, we'd love. We don't really do that much, but you can contact us. We'd love to show you what we're doing here at Mailology. About 400 dealers using this program. But hey, we're going to give these books away right here. 5 of them.
Lunch, and they are signed in green, might I add. I like that touch, Dave, by the way. I mentioned that in the opener when you weren't here, but I like that.
My wife bought me a cool little green Sharpie there to sign it with.
Cool. All right.